What's up, everyone? This is Michelle Dione Snider coming back at you from a long break. We have a lot going on in Oakland, and a lot of the issues are relatable to the rest of the country and even the world. And recently I was reporting on the Moms4Housing story. Who are the Moms4Housing? Moms4Housing is a group of homeless moms who organized to take over a vacant home in West Oakland. The first mom who entered the home, which was Dominique Walker, was November 18th, 2019. When news hit of them refusing to leave, a lot of people thought they were advocating to take over regular home ownership and squatting, but that's not the case. The moms, along with the organizations that worked with them, did a lot of research, targeted a home that had been left vacant for almost 2 years and was recently purchased by a shell corporation, LLC, named Wedgwood, which is based in Southern California. So when you think about it, this company isn't really even bringing anything to Oakland. They're just coming in and they're buying homes and they're flipping them. And this home was vacant for so long that, it's like, they keep saying you need more housing, we need to build more housing, but a lot of the houses and even the units that have been built are being kept vacant. So the moms did this to highlight many issues with access to housing, showing that houses are kept vacant to fluctuate the housing market, keeping housing demand for housing high, and only selling or renting when the market has hit a desired peak. That sounds like it's not a free market. Instead, it sounds like the market is being, what is that called? Manipulated? Yes. The first point made by Moms4Housing that caught immediate attention: their statement that there is 4 vacant homes for every 1 homeless person. Many politicians have said we just need to keep building more housing developments. Housing developing has been going on all over the place, but it's luxury developments. There isn't really any market. There isn't affordable housing. And if there is affordable housing, what they claim as affordable housing is actually for people that make about $90,000 a year. There's a lot of people that don't make that much money out here, or anywhere for that matter.
For housing! Moms for housing! Moms for housing! Moms for housing!
My name is Dominique, and I'm one of the co-founders of Moms4Housing. It was absolutely necessary for us to take a stand. We know that there are 4 vacant properties for every 1 homeless person sleeping on the streets. We're taking a stand, and it doesn't end with 1 house. We want to take Oakland back from all speculators. We're not going to stop organizing until we all have shelter.
So the 4 vacant homes for every 1 homeless person that is out here in Alameda County is a statistic that they found from a Mother Jones article that cited statistics from SF Curbed. And it does state that there is about actually 3.8 units of vacant housing per every homeless person. So they just rounded it up to 4. It's close to 4. And that is in Alameda County, but that is also can apply to Southern California and a lot of other places in California, or at least there's close to it. And I guarantee you that's not just there. A lot of these formulas for the making the market rise originally started in San Francisco. I know that Seattle has a lot of issues with gentrification. I even heard Boise, Idaho is starting to feel it. So a lot of these cities in the country should be paying attention to this, because you are all next if you're not already going through it. Also, just to let you know, all of the articles that I have here will be listed below. So I'm pretty much doing the research for you and finding it for you so that you can see that there is evidence for everything I'm talking about. Now, on November 23rd, I attended a march at Mosswood Park in Oakland, California, with a mixed group of activist groups. The park, the reason why they picked this park was because it has one of the largest homeless camps in Oakland right there. And then what they did was they marched to a site with housing that was being developed that was not really affordable, and it was just like a few blocks away. So there was a very good point in doing it at this park. The march was organized and led by Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. So in other words, it's ACCE action, and included Moms4Housing and other well-known organizations like Sunrise Movement, Poor People's Campaign, Youth versus Apocalypse, and Anti-Police Terror Project. Anti-Police Terror Project, APTP, is a very local activist group. They originated from countering and dealing with police shootings to citizens. Sunrise Movement is very much about youth and the environment. So a lot of these groups right here, they're not even necessarily all about housing, but they all united for one cause, which is a very interesting development, because if all these groups start coming together and actually working together, it's going to be pretty impressive what we're going to see in 2020 and beyond. So that part is huge, because if different organizations start to organize together for each other, their causes using research and powerful tactics, they may be unstoppable. So as Moms4Housing refused to leave the home and started to garner more media attention, Wedgwood, with their corporate office pictured here with the monopoly, came here, if you don't get a drift of what they're all about, hired a PR firm. They hired Sam Singer, president of Singer Association's Public Relations of San Francisco, to deal with their messaging and media. This is a real hard-hitting PR person, I was actually told. On December 17th, Moms4Housing petitioned the courts to take their case, attempting a right to claim possession. Now on December 23rd, Wedgwood claimed they were going to use a Southern California-based nonprofit called Shelter 37 to, if the moms left the house, they were going to use Shelter 37 to, I guess, hire, they weren't very specific at first, but maybe hire or do something with at-risk Oakland youth. Despite the plan never being announced before and the nonprofit having no record of working with the city of Oakland. This is kind of ironic, right? Because they're saying that they want to help Oakland youth that are at risk, but they are demanding that a bunch of moms and their children go out in the street just before Christmas and live in the streets, leaving them at risk. So another little fact in this story that is often kind of ignored is that the moms were trying to purchase the home. They had contacted the company, and the company didn't want to have anything to do with them from the start. So probably because the company was going to maybe put some paint on the house or do something to it, and then they're going to try and sell it for a cash bid for the highest bidder like they usually do. And there is a lot of articles that I'm going to put listed below. There are a lot of articles on this, so you can actually see what Wedgwood does and how there's a lot of LLC shell companies that do this formula. So this is a profit model, a business model that is continuously being used. So the moms stayed in the home through Christmas and took their case to stay in the home to court in hopes that their argument that housing is a human right and has been withheld from the public on purpose to fluctuate the market, so only with large amounts of cash can afford it, would work in their favor, because that would be monumental if a court actually did agree with that. But that didn't happen. But we'll get to that in a minute. So on January 10th, the judge favored Wedgwood in the case, and the mom said that they didn't blame the judge for that. The judge was going by the law. So the mom said that they were not mad. It was a win to stay as long as they did and receive the media coverage they received. They galvanized a movement that would continue. So let me show you some footage of Dominique Walker speaking at a press conference after the ruling.
Give her commentary.
First, I would like to take a moment to thank everyone for your support through this whole process. I would like to thank our city officials that have came up and stepped up. The rest need to. but the ones that have stepped up in support, like to thank them for their support. Today is not a defeat. This is the beginning of a movement.
That's right. Yes. Louder.
The system is designed to protect the wealthy.
Yes.
It wasn't designed for us, so we never thought that we would win in the unjust system.
Yeah. Okay.
We are here and we're not leaving. We've been here since November 18. That is a win for us.
Woo!
Go to the microphone, please.
We are bringing awareness to this national and global housing crisis, and we don't intend to stop. Housing is a human right.
Yes.
We're working to change not only the laws here, but all over the world around housing. We want to create a housing registry. We want to outlaw short-term rentals. We want to be able to use eminent domain to get housing from these corporate speculators out of our community.
Yes. Yes. Take it back.
We are not going to stop fighting until all unhoused folks that want housing have shelter. It is a basic human need, and it's our basic human right.
Yes.
And company like Wedgwood, they said this morning, they put out a statement that said this legal decision was the legally right thing to do, the ethical and the moral right thing to do. This is what we're up against. A corporation who would put mothers and their children out onto the street thinking that it is the moral and right thing to do. So we are all gonna have to come together because we are fighting these giants with these money, and we have the power. The people have the power. We have the power to change how things are going. Look at all the attention that is on Oakland right now. We are the blueprint for this movement, and we're not gonna stop fighting.
No, Dominique, we love you.
Thank you.
Dominique, they said you got 5 days. They have 5 days to turn the property over. What are you going to do?
Oh, I'm not leaving. We're not leaving.
That's right.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
What do you do? What do you do if the sheriff shows up and says you got to go?
They gotta take me. Take me out.
All of us.
Yeah.
All of us. All of us.
Right.
You tell us where to be.
Okay.
Well, here, but when?
Yeah.
Are there any more questions?
Are you considering doing this to other houses now?
I would encourage folks to do whatever they need to provide shelter for their family.
Yes.
So Dominique just shared that she has to be taken away. So I would say that and make a call as the director for an organization who does this, right? That all of our members, all of the people who believe and stand with the moms, come and stand with the moms. If Dominique is taken away, she shouldn't be taken away alone, right? If she gets arrested, there should be people that are arrested right there with her. So that I'm asking, because Dominique is not going to, nor should she have to, stand with the moms. If you stand with them, be here to stand with them, because it's just not Dominique that's going to be arrested. That has to be taken from this house. This is a movement, and the forces that are putting all of this money into community to speculate and take homes off the market and make them only available to a select few, they need to see that this is not just about 4 mothers, that it's much bigger than that. So I urge everyone who has the capacity to be here, to be in solidarity, and put your bodies on the line like these mothers are putting their bodies on the line for all of us.
That's right.
If they come at 2 o'clock in the morning, will you still be here? But that's the thing. What they'll do is they'll wait till nobody's around before they send the sheriff's deputies out.
That will never be the case. All right. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whose house? Mom's house. Whose house? Mom's house. Whose house? Mom's house. Whose house? Mom's house. Evict the speculators. Evict the speculators. Evict the speculators. Evict.
Now let's see one of the representatives, the director of ACCE, Carroll Fife, speaking at the press conference, calling attention to a narrative she said she saw often in media, blaming the moms for being homeless.
Right now, the moms are inside. We just got news, right? A few hours ago. So they're collecting their thoughts. And I just will speak briefly while they're collecting themselves that one of the mothers just lost her partner. In the news, we're hearing a lot about how unworthy they are of housing because they have children and they didn't make plans to take care of their children. And I really want to highlight how this particular situation has called into question and into the forefront how people are not valued. And it doesn't matter what choices you make in life. I've heard a lot through this conversation that they should work harder. They work 2 or 3 jobs, that they shouldn't have children. Some of them lost their partners through car accidents or bad health because they didn't have access to health care. So we want people to understand that this could be anyone. This could be you, this could be your loved one that needs housing, which is why we are screaming to the top of our lungs that housing is a right that everyone should have access to. That means whether you have an addiction issue, because I guarantee you the wealthy people that are buying up these neighborhoods have some addiction issues. That's right. Let's talk about it. I guarantee that the people who are buying up these homes, who can afford $1 million homes in formerly working class neighborhoods, also have mental health issues, right? Just because you have an addiction or substance abuse issue, or you may have challenges with mental health, does not mean you do not have a right to housing. What we're seeing right now is the people who have a right to housing are the people who can pay the most for it. That has got to end. We have got to take speculation out of our housing conversation, right? It cannot be who has $1 million. These homes that are for sale across the street are for close to $1.5 million. Fuck that. How they're saying, and it affects everyone, right? That the people who can save up enough for a down payment on homes have to compete with corporations like Wedgwood, who have hundreds of shell organizations and limited liability corporations that buy houses in bulk. So what that does for the average individual or family who wants to save up and buy a house, when you go, there's no way to compete. So we're not dealing with individuals who are buying up homes. We're dealing with corporations. And newsflash, corporations are not people. So when they say you came and took a house that belongs to someone, no, it did before it was foreclosed on. That's right. This system is rigged for the wealthy. Right. I've said that every time you all have come here, right? And that doesn't change. We'll tell them to go back to their shelves. Right now, I want to once again give so much love and thanks and appreciation to the elected officials who've had the courage to say enough is enough. We want to see housing for working class people, for the average resident. I cannot say enough about Nikki Fortunado Bass, the Oakland City Councilmember from District 2, who is standing on the right side of history. Because as she said before, once upon a time, it was okay for people to own people that look like me. It was legal, it was the law. That doesn't mean the law is correct. So I want to introduce Nikki Fortunado Bass. Thank you for being here.
Hello. Again, my name is Nikki Fortunado Bass. I am the council member in Oakland for District 2. And I believe that every single person in our community deserves a right to housing. Yes. That is what the Moms for Housing movement is about. The right to housing is the civil rights issue of our time. The right to housing should be in our Constitution. Yes! And that is what these moms are doing. We are going to look back at today, some point in the future, and we are going to say, this was a moment. This is a movement in history, because what the moms are doing is an act of civil disobedience. An act of civil disobedience because the laws are stacked against them as unsheltered moms. Right. What they are saying is that the system is not moral, it's not just to mothers and other people who were members of our community who are unsheltered and living on the street. And as I said after the court hearing on the 30th, there was a time when one of the moms would not have legally been able to have coffee at a white restaurant. There is a time right now where corporations are treated like people. There is a time when we are allowing our cities, our state, our country is allowing housing to be commodified. It is not a commodity, it is a human right.
That's right.
And so the foreclosure crisis that we are still bearing so much pain about, that these moms are bearing pain about, that this West Oakland, this entire city is bearing pain about, the foreclosure crisis was brought about real estate speculators like Wedgwood. They have profited from the foreclosure crisis. They have exacerbated displacement, exacerbated homelessness, and we have to do right by all of the people who've been impacted. We have to do right, and that means holding those corporations accountable. So I want to say,
do something too.
That's right.
yes,
Oakland needs to step up.
that's right. That's exactly right.
need to step
This
up.
is all hands on deck.
Yep. And I'm
So,
glad you're here.
yes. So Wedgwood, the offer is still on the table to purchase this home. The Oakland Community Land Trust stands ready to sit down and negotiate with you. Myself and Councilmember Kaplan are willing to convene that meeting so that Wedgwood can negotiate the sale of this home with the land trust and return it to the community to allow these moms to be housed. At the city
Them
level,
and many others. Them and
at
many
the
others.
city level, I am working with my colleagues inside City Hall to explore what we can do in terms of systemic policy that will hold accountable the corporate speculators that are leaving these homes vacant. There is no reason why a vacant property that has multiple code violations, that's been red tagged, that has been sitting abandoned for years causing blight, should continue to be that way. When I look around this crowd and I see people who need homes, at the City of Oakland, I am going to work with my colleagues to bring forward policy that will address that systemic crisis.
A moratorium on
So after that press conference, they were told that there was about 5 days that they had before the Alameda Sheriff's Department was going to come in and evict them forcibly. The moms said, nope, we're not leaving. So on January 14th, within the early hours of 5 a.m., the Alameda County Sheriff's Department evicted 2 of the moms using Bearcat armored vehicles and militarized officers. I was not there. I was there the night before, and you can see some of the footage in a minute. I was there when they removed the kids out. They had said that they had been given a little bit of a notice by somebody saying that they were there for the sheriff. So they believed that night that the sheriffs was going to come for them, but it ended up being in the morning at 5 a.m. And of course, unless you're going to stay there, you're not going to be able to catch that footage. At the time of the eviction, Dominique Walker was live on Democracy Now! With Carroll Fife. So if you check out Democracy Now!, they actually have the moment where they're getting the text saying that they were there at the door and they had to rush and leave. So let me leave you with some footage of the night before, though, so you could see how much community organizing it was there. Like, people were ready to be arrested at the front door. There was a ton of people. They were singing, they were chanting, they were there for many hours.
People power! Housing justice! Now! What do we want? Housing justice! Now! How are we gonna get it? People power! How are we gonna get it? People power! Mom's house! Mom's house!
We love you.
We stand with you.
We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you.
We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you. We stand with you.
You would think that that's the end, but it's not. See, they thought they won just enough on staying there for almost 2 months. But in the end, on Martin Luther King Day, it was announced that Wedgwood would sell the home at an appraisal price to the moms through the Oakland Land Trust. In case you don't know, appraisal price just means that somebody who is authorized is going to come in and they're going to appraise the value of the property, and whatever they say the property is worth is going to be the appraisal price. And the reason why this happened was because the California Governor Gavin Newsom had met with Wedgwood to negotiate the selling of the home along with the Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. Like, wow, how much attention did you get for the governor and the mayor to go do this? Now, the moms did make a few things clear on Martin Luther King Day. They had a press conference again, and they mentioned how Libby Schaaf had not been there from day one, but there was 2 public officials, 2 Oakland City Council members, that's Nikki Fortunado Bass and Rebecca Kaplan, who were supporting them through the whole entire time. And Nikki Fortunado Bass and Rebecca Kaplan both have plans on what they think should develop and happen to make the city of Oakland be able to purchase foreclosed homes so that they can sell them to families that are especially first-time homeowners at a actual reasonable price. So the moms also wanted everyone to know that the fight for housing was not going to stop, and they were going to continue it. As a matter of fact, when they buy the house, they do plan on using the house to be their headquarters for the next fight that they're going to have. So this is not going to be the end. You're definitely going to hear from not just the moms, but you're going to hear from a lot of other organizations, and I am totally happy to continue on with the story. In closing, this is probably one of the best modern day examples of using tactics and research to get a message across. They educated the public, they used social media to organize, and they got the media to start doing more research to understand the problem and spread out the message even more so that people can understand. It's a blueprint that can be used around the world for any kind of organizing, really. Here's the press conference so that you can see the final parts of that.
Good morning, all. My name is Carroll Fife, and I'm the director for the Oakland Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. And I can say that I am honored to stand here with the courageous mothers, elected officials, community organizations, and supporters who've been a part of this 2-month struggle to show that housing should be a human right in the state of California and in the city of Oakland. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of effort that went into this campaign to highlight how speculators are driving up the cost of housing for all of us. All of us. Yes. What the difference is, for some people, it makes housing out of reach. It puts housing out of the grasp of people who need it the most, some of the most vulnerable, and some of those are children. And so I'm not going to talk too much. You've heard a lot from me over the last 2 months, but I definitely want to turn it over to one of the courageous moms and someone I can consider a sister and a friend, Dominique Walker.
I would like to thank, first of all of our supporters. You have encouraged us when we really needed it. You've had our backs. You were able to mobilize like 300 plus in like 15 to 20 minutes. That's power, and that's the people power that showed Wedgwood and our mayor that housing should be a human right. We are thankful that since this story has made national attention, that our mayor has gotten involved and other city council members have gotten involved. And I do want to thank the council members that are standing here with me right now, because those are the ones that have been saying this since day one. Where are the rest of you? Now they want to come to the table and talk about housing as a human right. And we're willing to sit down with anybody who's interested in ending this homelessness crisis. But we're very skeptical of folks coming out now. When we reached out, we tweeted, we've made national news, and they've been silent. We're just happy. We're ready to buy Mom's house, and we're ready to continue this movement. This movement does not end today with us. With that house on Magnolia Street, we will not stop organizing and fighting until all unhoused folks who want shelter have shelter.
Yes. My name is Michael Clatterbaugh. I'm an attorney for Moms4Housing. And this is a historical moment where we have sparked a movement. I'm proud to just do my small part as an attorney. We brought the right to housing under international law to the attention of the courts. And even though the courts have continued to refuse to recognize that right, it is still binding on California courts and in fact courts across the country that the right to adequate housing is already required under international law. It's also required under the Constitution under recent federal precedent. This is just the beginning, and we will continue to fight for this recognition. What we have seen is a housing crisis manufactured by speculative investment, where housing is left vacant intentionally, hoping to increase the value of that property because it's being treated as commodities, while people are pushed out of their homes, and homelessness has increased to unprecedented levels, and we are not going to stop fighting this exploitation of something that should be required as a basic right. We're going to continue to fight this in every way that we can until housing is no longer treated as a commodity and instead recognized as a right.
Woo!
Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to do that one more time just to keep the blood going. Good morning. Good morning. Today, we are taking a moment to celebrate this incredible victory that was accomplished by community acting together.
That's right.
My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I'm incredibly honored to serve as the citywide council member for the people of Oakland and as your council president, and to have been standing together with my colleague, Councilmember Nikki in calling for Wedgwood to sell the house to the community. We've been calling for that for weeks now, and I'm so thrilled at the persistence of the community and the advocacy that has brought us to this moment. We know that justice is what love looks like when you put it into action. And on this day, when it is so common to talk about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, but not necessarily understand that his legacy was about action, and to honor his life requires not just honoring his words, but taking the actions that he called us to take to build a society of justice. And that is what so many people have done in partnership with these moms who put themselves forward to fight for this incredibly important issue. That we have had a foreclosure crisis that has devastated our communities. We have had an eviction and displacement crisis that has destroyed our communities and disproportionately targeted African Americans and led to the most skyrocketing rate of homelessness that we've ever seen, having gone up 47% here in the last 2 years. And that means we have to take serious action. We can't let homes sit vacant while people are living on the streets. And we can't keep allowing homes to end up in the hands of flippers who don't make them available to our community. And so let us honor the Moms for Housing. Let us honor the work of every advocate, of everyone who fought for this, whether as a lawyer, whether rallying in the street, whether writing a letter, every action that everybody took to be a part of this incredible movement. And this is just one step. This is going to continue to move forward. We're bringing forth local legislation to take properties that are going to be auctioned. And when properties are put on auction, they go to not only the highest bidder, but you have to bid cash, which means our families can't buy them. And to take those off the auction block and restore them in partnership with community organizations to house our community. So I want to thank and uplift the Moms for Housing, ACE and other community organizations, the Oakland Community Land Trust, and all the thousands of people who have been coming out in support. This is what it means to take action together. This is what solidarity looks like, and may it continue. Thank you so much. And next up is Councilmember Nikki Bass.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nikki Fortunado Bass. I'm the council member representing District 2, and this is an incredible day in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. First, I want to say to Moms for Housing, to Dominique, to Samira, to Misty, to Tolani, you, your families, your community, our movement is starting in earnest an incredible new civil rights movement for housing as a human right. And I want to thank you for your courage. And I think the work that these moms have done over the past couple months, the incredible outpouring of support from you all as the community, that has really given me inspiration as a policymaker about what we can do when we organize, when we build movement. And I want to remind us it does not stop here. Laws do not get made by people inside City Hall alone. Just laws get made when people stand up, when people organize, and when movements push policymakers and work together with us. And I really want to thank, in particular, ACE Action. Because ACE and the Land Trust have been working with my office for well over a year on this very issue, on the issue of taking homes off the speculative market and putting them into the hands of community. Last year we had a victory by creating a $12 million fund, a permanent affordability fund, so that tenants can purchase their homes with land trusts and co-ops. Next, in the coming weeks, we together are going to introduce a new policy here in Oakland, a Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, which will be the policy tool to go with the money to make sure that tenants can purchase their homes with land trusts and co-ops so that they don't become homeless. That type of tool would have helped these moms and others. And finally, we are not done. This is just the beginning. There needs to be accountability for Wedgwood and other giant real estate speculators. There needs to be accountable on us as the policymakers to live up to what we need to do to end this homelessness and housing affordability crisis. And I want to say that there are still at least 4,000 people who are living in our streets. We need services. We need to honor the resiliency of people who are this weekend building homes because not enough is happening. We also need to make sure that we are building deeply affordable housing. We are contributing public land and private land to house people. It does not end here. And finally, we also need to make sure we're addressing the real economic gap, because it takes $40 an hour for any family working in Oakland for just a 2-bedroom home, but our minimum wage is only $14. There's a lot we have to do to make sure people can afford to stay here. There's a lot we have to do to make sure people get housed. So continue to stand with the moms, continue to push in your communities for housing as a human right. Thank you.
So before we go to questions and answers, I want to acknowledge, number one, the invitation from APTV to be here today and to make housing one of the themes of the march, because housing and the way that law enforcement is used to enforce evictions is intertwined. The way that the Alameda County Sheriffs came in to enact an eviction notice on mothers and children is shameful. And it's shameful for the world to see. And so there's nothing that they can say to justify the use of tanks with a Tourette that shoots out military-grade weapons for mothers and children, or for any of the crowd that was there engaging in nonviolent civil disobedience. Shame, and we demand accountability. Yes. And it is also important to understand that on this day, recognizing the radical legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that it's important to understand the history of civil disobedience in this country, because every single right that we have today was won by people engaging and pushing on what was legal, right? So it's important to not criminalize women who are trying to bring attention and justice and humanity to the masses, for everyone. They are not the criminals here. The criminal system is one that allows homelessness. And the rally is ramping up, so we're not going to take too much time. Are there any questions that you have?
Yes, the magnitude of the homelessness crisis requires response at every level of government. We are asking our county, our state, and all of them to look for what properties they have that can be made available. We are asking for support at every level of government. Of course at the federal level, though I have the wisdom to not spend all my time banging my head against the brick wall. We need support from every level of government, and that includes the state and the federal government, and for us to take local action to take properties off the auction block and restore them to the community.
Is it the plan for the mothers who had occupied the home to sell those folks to live in that same house?
What's the question again?
Will the mothers who were in the house, now that the sale will hopefully happen, will it's the plan for the same families to live there?
Of course. That the plan is to make that the foundation of Moms4Housing. That is where this all started, and that's where we all plan to keep it at that location, and for us to occupy that residence.
To live there, but also
to live there, and
use
to
it as a
also make
base?
that as our foundation and working base.
How is your name?
Misty Cross.
Misty, where are you guys living now, and how long do you think it'll be before you can move back into that house?
Don't know how long it'll be before we move into that house now, but I will say that we are working towards getting our housing situation stable. That's not the big picture for us right now. The big picture is to try to keep people focused on the main problem that occurred, and to make sure that we're okay as people, as we were just traumatized and going through this whole process. Wedgwood, our mayor, no one has given us a public apology. There is a problem there with that. To dismantle people from the inside out and to not give them a public apology as to the disrespect and the shame that they have done to us. It shouldn't have gotten this far for them to come to the tables now of negotiating and saying, hey, we'll just turn it over to you. But the real pain and the real hurt we hold inside. So we're working on that day by day. We are going to be all housed right now, that's not the focus of what we should be worried about. The focus is that now Wedgwood has come to the table. Why don't we ask them what changed their heart? Ask our mayor what changed her heart into coming to the table to help with these negotiations. Let's talk about the big picture here, not to where we are now in this present time, because we're still hurting. There's still pain here. We went to jail. We were dragged out. We were taken away from our kids. We stood up and put our bodies on the line for a fact that it should not have happened. We stood up and we stood a big fight against giants that we had nothing to do with, but just expose and to let people know what was really happening. So that is what we want to do, and that's where our focus is now, holding people accountable, trying to figure out.
According to the mayor, she claims that Wedgwood has agreed that all their 20 or so properties here in Oakland, they are going to give a new land trust for the city, first right to buy them up, or eventually to go to low-income families or rental buyers. That could be a lot for this community. It's not just about you, Misty, and Dominique. We're talking about other moms possibly.
Definitely.
So talk to me about that.
I would question the mayor on that, because all of this has happened just out of the blue. We're still trying to figure out what was behind the closed door agreement with that. So we're still in discussions with how we will follow this and who will we hold accountable for that portion. But we are hoping that it has opened her eyes to really looking at the expense of all of the unhoused people.
You told me before not a penny more than the price that they purchased it for. So I'm assuming you guys are sticking to that. It's going to be
Definitely.
So we have to wrap it up.
Anyways, that's my report. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that it was a little educational, because this was a local news story, but it's definitely a story that can affect everybody out there. And I hope that you understand a little bit more about why they took over the house. They're not coming for your homes. As a matter of fact, they said specifically they want everyone to have a home. And stay tuned. I'm going to get more videos. It's probably going to take me another few weeks to get the next one, but I have a whole list of ideas, a whole bunch of research that I've done, and I do all the research so you don't have to. Peace out.